On February 23, 2025, President Trump signed an executive memorandum titled Declassification of Records Relating to Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena. But buried beneath the headline about JFK and assassination files was a provision that disclosure advocates have sought for decades, a formal presidential directive abrogating non-disclosure agreements that have kept current and former government employees silent about UAP-related programs. One sentence in that document structurally altered the whistleblower landscape. To understand why, you need to understand what an NDA abrogation actually means and what it doesn't. A non-disclosure agreement in the classified world isn't a suggestion. It's a legally binding contract, often backed by criminal penalties under statutes like 18 U.S.C., Paragraph 798, and the Espionage Act. Violating one can mean prosecution, loss of clearance, financial ruin. For decades, individuals allegedly read into UAP-related special access programs signed NDAs that specifically prohibited disclosure, even to Congress. Abrogation doesn't merely waive the NDA, it retroactively nullifies the government's standing to enforce it. The signatory is released from the contractual obligation as though it no longer exists. Critically, Trump's memorandum directed this abrogation specifically for disclosures made through authorized channels, not to the public at large. This is the problem the directive was designed to solve. When David Grusch testified before the House Oversight Committee on July 26, 2023, he repeatedly said he could not answer questions in an open setting. "I was told by the Inspector General that my NDA was still enforceable," Grusch stated in subsequent interviews. He described a Kafkaesque system. Individuals with direct knowledge of crash retrieval and reverse engineering programs who wanted to talk to Congress but were legally prohibited and feared retaliation. The intelligence community Inspector General found Grusch's complaint credible and urgent. But credibility didn't unlock testimony. The NDAs did their job. People stayed silent. Trump's memorandum established two primary authorized disclosure channels. The first is AARO, the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, created by the FY2023 NDAA and led since late 2024 by Dr. John Koslowski, who replaced the outgoing Sean Kirkpatrick. The second is the Pursue Task Force, the Presidential UAP Research and Strategic Understanding Executive Task Force, a new body operating closer to the White House. Under the directive, former and current government employees and contractors with knowledge of UAP-related programs may now disclose information to these entities without fear that their original NDAs will be enforced against them. The memorandum also directs agency heads to facilitate these disclosures and prohibits reprisal actions. The eligible population is broader than most coverage has acknowledged. It includes not only active duty military and intelligence community personnel, but former employees of defense contractors, companies like Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, Battelle, and others that allegedly held legacy UAP materials under what the FY2024 NDAA termed non-Earth origin or exotic UAP material. It also covers personnel from DOE national laboratories who may have conducted materials analysis. Retired officials who left government decades ago and have carried their NDAs into civilian life are now, at least on paper, free to speak through the designated channels. The directive does not distinguish between rank or era of service, but abrogation has boundaries. The directive covers disclosures through AARO and Pursue, not to journalists, podcasters, or even Congress directly unless separate protections apply. The Schumer-Rounds UAP Disclosure Act, which passed in modified form within the FY2024 NDAA, provides some congressional reporting protections, but its eminent domain provisions for retrieving materials were stripped before passage. Individuals who disclose outside authorized channels still face potential prosecution. Classification itself is not lifted. The information remains classified. What changes is the legal jeopardy for sharing it with specific authorized recipients. This is a critical distinction. The secrets don't become public. They move from one locked room to another, closer to oversight. 3 categories of programs could now produce new testimony. First, crash retrieval, the recovery of intact or partially intact UAP craft. Grusch alleged these programs have existed since the 1940s and were hidden from congressional oversight through misappropriated funding. Second, reverse engineering, efforts to understand and replicate recovered technology. According to multiple sources cited in the 2023 ICIG complaint, these programs allegedly operated within unacknowledged special access programs, or USAPs, at contractor facilities. Third, compartmented sensor analysis, the processing of radar, infrared, electromagnetic, and other sensor data collected during UAP encounters by military platforms. This last category may be the most immediately productive because sensor data is less dependent on contested physical evidence and more amenable to scientific verification. Before February 2025, a person inside a legacy UAP program who wanted to report to oversight faced cascading legal threats. Their NDA, Potential Espionage Act liability, program security officers with authority to deny access, and an unclear chain of reporting. The executive memorandum doesn't eliminate all of those barriers, but it removes the first and most psychologically powerful one. It tells people with presidential authority that their silence contract is void, provided they speak to the right people. Whether AARO and Pursue will handle these disclosures with genuine transparency or become new mechanisms of containment remains the central unanswered question. The executive memorandum set a 300-day timeline for agencies to review and declassify UAP-related records. That clock runs into late 2025. If even a fraction of the individuals Grusch described, he cited approximately 40 witnesses with direct knowledge, now come forward through the authorized channels. The volume of testimony reaching oversight could be unprecedented. But testimony behind closed doors, to a task force that reports to the executive branch, is not the same as public disclosure. The architecture matters. The legal mechanism is real. The question is whether the political will exists to let the information reach daylight. For the first time, the lock has been changed. Whether anyone walks through the door and whether what's on the other side reaches the public will define whether this moment was a turning point or another chapter in managed ambiguity.